Welcome, dear listeners. Today, I bring you an exciting tale from India, full of wisdom and wit. This is a story from the famous Panchatantra, an ancient collection of fables that teach important life lessons. Our story is called The Tiger and the Brahmin. It is about a kind-hearted Brahmin, a trapped tiger, and a clever fox. But beware, not everything is as it seems. This tale teaches us an important lesson. Beware of false promises. So, sit back, relax, and let me take you into the world of this amazing folktale. Once upon a time, in a quiet village in India, a Brahmin, a holy man, was walking along a forest path. He was on his way to a temple when he suddenly heard a deep, sorrowful growl. He turned his head and saw a large iron cage in the middle of the path. And inside was a tiger. The tiger's golden eyes looked desperate. It spoke in a soft, pleading voice. "O kind Brahmin, please help me. I am trapped in this cage. I promise, if you set me free, I will be forever grateful. I will not harm you." The Brahmin was kind-hearted. But should he trust the tiger? What do you think will happen next? Will the Brahmin set the tiger free? And if he does, will the tiger keep his promise? Stay with me as we uncover the next twist in this thrilling story. The Brahmin stood before the iron cage, looking at the tiger. The tiger's golden eyes were full of sadness. Its voice was soft and desperate. "O kind Brahmin," the tiger said, "please help me. I am trapped in this cage, and I have been here for many days without food or water. I am weak and hungry. If you set me free, I promise I will not harm you. I will be forever grateful." The Brahmin was a kind man. He believed in helping others. But he was also wise. He knew that a tiger was a wild animal, and wild animals could be dangerous. He thought for a moment. "But you are a tiger," the Brahmin said. "If I set you free, how do I know that you will not attack me?" The tiger lowered its head and sighed. "I understand your fear," it said, "but I give you my word. I will not harm you. I am not just any tiger. I know the value of kindness. If you help me today, I will remember it for the rest of my life." The Brahmin looked at the tiger's tired eyes. It did not look strong enough to attack. Its voice was gentle. The Brahmin felt pity for the poor animal. "All right," he said, "I will trust you." The tiger's eyes lit up with hope. "Thank you, kind Brahmin," it said. The Brahmin looked at the heavy iron lock on the cage. He pulled the latch and lifted the lock. Then, slowly, he opened the door of the cage. For a moment, the tiger did not move. It took a deep breath of fresh air. Then, suddenly, it leaped out of the cage. The Brahmin smiled. "You are free now," he said. "Go back to the jungle and live happily." But as soon as the tiger was out, something changed. Its eyes, which were soft and grateful a moment ago, now looked sharp and hungry. Its body, which seemed weak inside the cage, now stood tall and strong. The Brahmin stepped back. Something did not feel right. The tiger licked its lips and looked at the Brahmin. "You have done a great favor for me," it said, "and now I must do what my nature tells me to do. I am hungry, and you will be my meal." The Brahmin's heart started to race. "But you promised me," he said. "You said you would not harm me." The tiger smiled, showing its sharp teeth. "I did promise," it said, "but I am a tiger, and a tiger must eat." The Brahmin was shocked. He had trusted the tiger, and now the tiger wanted to eat him. He had to think fast. He could not fight a tiger. He had no weapons. He had to use his intelligence. He looked around and saw a big tree nearby. "Wait," he said. "Before you eat me, let me ask others if this is fair. Let me ask the tree what it thinks." The tiger laughed. "Ask whoever you want," it said, "but no one can change the law of the jungle." The Brahmin and the tiger walked toward the tree. The Brahmin hoped that the tree would help him. He hoped that someone or something would save him from the tiger's betrayal. The Brahmin and the tiger reached a large, old tree standing by the side of the road. Its branches stretched out wide, and its thick trunk had deep cracks in the bark. The Brahmin looked up at the tree with hope. Maybe the tree would understand that the tiger was being unfair. The Brahmin spoke first. "O wise tree," he said, "I need your help. I was walking through the forest when I saw this tiger trapped inside a cage. He begged me to free him and promised that he would not harm me. But as soon as I opened the cage, he changed his mind. Now he wants to eat me. Tell me, is this fair?" The tree was silent for a moment. Then, in a deep and tired voice, it spoke. "Fair?" The tree said, "I have lived in this forest for many, many years. I have given shade to travelers when they were tired. I have given fruits to people when they were hungry. Birds build their nests on my branches. They sing their songs and rest in my leaves. But what happens when I grow old and weak? People cut me down for wood. They take everything from me and give me nothing in return." The Brahmin was shocked. "But that is not the same," he said. "I did not harm the tiger. I helped him," the tree sighed. "And I helped many before you," it said. "But kindness is often repaid with cruelty. The tiger is only doing what the world has taught him." The Brahmin felt his hope slipping away. He turned to the tiger, who was smiling. "You see," the tiger said, "even the tree agrees with me. Now, let us not waste time." The Brahmin stepped back. He had to think of something fast. "Wait," he said. "Let me ask someone else. Maybe another creature will see things differently." The tiger rolled its eyes but agreed. "Fine," it said. "Ask anyone you like, but the answer will be the same." The Brahmin and the tiger continued walking. Soon, they saw a buffalo resting by the side of the road. Its body was thin, and its ribs showed through its skin. It looked tired and weak. The Brahmin felt a little nervous, but he had to try. "Oh, noble buffalo," the Brahmin said, "I need your help. I saw this tiger trapped inside a cage. He begged me to set him free and promised that he would not harm me. But as soon as I opened the cage, he changed his mind. Now he wants to eat me. Tell me, is this fair?" The buffalo raised its head slowly and looked at the Brahmin with tired eyes. "Fair?" the buffalo said. "I do not know what fair means. I worked for my master all my life. When I was young, I was strong. I pulled his cart, carried his goods, and plowed his fields. I gave him everything I had. But now that I am old and weak, he has no use for me. He has left me here to die. Is that fair?" The Brahmin felt his heart sink. "But that is different," he said. "I did not use the tiger. I helped him." The buffalo shook its head. "It does not matter," it said. "The strong will always take what they want from the weak. It is the way of the world." The tiger laughed. "See," it said. "First the tree. Now the buffalo. Everyone agrees with me. Now, prepare yourself. I am hungry." The Brahmin felt his hands go cold. He was running out of time. He had to find someone, anyone, who would understand his side. "Just one more," he said. "Let me ask one more creature." The tiger sighed. "This is a waste of time," it said. "But go ahead. Find one more fool to ask." The Brahmin and the tiger walked a little farther. The Brahmin's heart was beating fast. He did not know if anyone would help him, but he could not give up. Then, as they walked down the path, they saw something small and quick moving through the grass. It was a fox. A clever-looking fox with bright eyes and a bushy tail. The Brahmin felt a small spark of hope. Maybe this fox was different. Maybe it would understand. He took a deep breath and called out, "Oh, wise fox, please help me." The fox stopped and turned its head toward the Brahmin and the tiger. Its sharp eyes studied them both. It did not seem afraid of the tiger, nor did it seem in a hurry. Instead, it flicked its tail and sat down as if it had all the time in the world. The Brahmin quickly stepped forward. "Oh, wise fox," he said, "I need your help. I was walking through the forest when I saw this tiger trapped inside a cage. The tiger begged me to free him. He promised that he would not harm me. But the moment I opened the cage, he changed his mind. Now he wants to eat me. Tell me, is this fair?" The fox's ears twitched, and it turned its head slightly. "The tiger wants to eat you?" it asked. "Yes," the Brahmin cried. "Even after I saved him, he wants to eat me." The fox narrowed its eyes. It said. "This is very interesting. But I do not understand something." The tiger let out a deep sigh. "There is nothing to understand," it growled. "I was in a cage. The Brahmin let me out. Now I am hungry, and he is food." The fox nodded slowly. Yes, I understand that part," it said. But I am confused about one thing. The Brahmin leaned forward, hoping that the fox was on his side. What do you not understand? He asked. The fox scratched its head with one paw. Well, it said, I am a small creature and my brain is not very big. Sometimes I have trouble imagining things. You say that this tiger was inside a cage. Yes, the Brahmin said. And the cage was locked? Yes, it was locked. And the tiger could not come out on his own? No, he could not, the Brahmin said. The fox frowned. That is the part one do not understand, it said. You see, I have never seen a tiger inside a cage before. It is very hard for me to picture it in my mind. I try, but I just cannot imagine such a thing. Maybe if I could see it with my own eyes, I would understand better. The tiger blinked. What do you mean? It asked. I mean, the fox said. I need to see exactly how the tiger was inside the cage. How was he sitting? How was he trapped? How did the Brahmin open the cage? I am a simple creature, and I need to see it for myself. The Brahmin's eyes widened. He was beginning to understand what the fox was trying to do. But he said nothing. The tiger let out a growl. This is foolish, it said. Why does it matter how I was inside the cage? The fox shrugged. Maybe it does not matter, it said. But how can I judge what is fair and what is unfair if I do not even understand the situation? You are a great and powerful tiger. Surely, you are not afraid of going back inside the cage for just a moment. The tiger puffed out its chest. Afraid? It said. I am afraid of nothing. The fox nodded. Then show me, it said. Go back into the cage just for a moment. Let me see how it all happened. Once I understand, I will give my answer. The tiger hesitated. It did not like the idea of going back inside the cage, even for a moment. But at the same time, it did not want to look weak in front of a small fox. It let out a low growl and stepped forward. Fine, the tiger said. I will show you. The Brahmin and the fox stepped back as the tiger walked up to the cage. The heavy iron door was still open. The tiger crouched down and slowly stepped inside. Yes, yes, the fox said. And how were you sitting before? Were you curled up? Or were you lying down? The tiger growled in annoyance. I was curled up, it said. It turned around inside the cage and sat down. The fox nodded. Ah, I see. And where was your tail? Was it inside or hanging outside the cage? The tiger flicked its tail inside. It was inside the cage, of course. And your paws? The fox asked. Were they stretched out or tucked in? The tiger pulled its paws in. Like this? It said impatiently. The fox's eyes twinkled. Ah, now I understand, it said. This is very helpful. Then, in a flash, the fox turned to the Brahmin. Quick, it shouted. Close the cage and lock it. The Brahmin did not waste a second. He grabbed the heavy iron door and swung it shut. Then, with shaking hands, he pulled down the latch and locked it. The tiger roared and leaped toward the bars. But it was too late. The cage was locked once again. The tiger was trapped. The tiger roared in anger. It threw itself against the iron bars, shaking the cage with all its strength. But no matter how hard it pushed, the cage did not open. The door was locked once again, just as it had been before the Brahmin had freed it. "You tricked me," the tiger growled. Its golden eyes burned with fury as it glared at the fox. "You made me go back inside on purpose." The fox tilted its head slightly, pretending to be surprised. "Oh, dear me," it said. "I was only trying to understand the situation better. You were the one who stepped back inside the cage. I never forced you, did I?" The tiger let out a deep, frustrated growl. It paced inside the cage, its tail flicking in irritation. "This is unfair," it roared. "I was free. The Brahmin freed me, and now I am trapped again." The fox nodded thoughtfully. Yes, I understand. But tell me something, mighty tiger. When the Brahmin freed you, did you not promise him that you would not harm him?" The tiger narrowed its eyes. "I did," it admitted. "And yet," the fox continued, "the moment you were free, you broke your promise. You wanted to eat the very man who had saved your life. Now, tell me, is that fair?" The tiger fell silent for a moment. It looked at the fox, then at the Brahmin. It knew the answer, but it did not want to admit it. "You were unfair to the Brahmin first," the fox went on. "You betrayed his kindness. And now the world has brought you back to where you started, inside the cage. Perhaps this is simply justice." The Brahmin, who had been silent all this time, slowly nodded. He realized that the fox was right. He had acted out of kindness, believing the tiger's promise. But the tiger had betrayed him, and now the tiger was back where it belonged. "You are a foolish man," the fox said, turning to the Brahmin. "You let your kindness blind you. You forgot that not everyone is grateful for help. Some creatures, like this tiger, will always act according to their nature. A tiger is a tiger, no matter what it promises. You must be more careful in the future." The Brahmin lowered his head in shame. He had nearly lost his life because he had trusted the wrong creature. The tiger let out another angry growl. "You may have tricked me this time," it said. "But one day I will be free again." The fox only smiled. "Perhaps," it said. "But for now, you are exactly where you should be." Then, without another word, the fox turned and began walking away. The Brahmin hesitated for a moment, then followed. He kept glancing back at the tiger, still pacing angrily inside the cage. But the further he walked, the lighter his heart felt. He had learned a hard lesson that day. A lesson about trust, about promises, and about the dangers of being too kind to the wrong creatures. And he knew that he would never forget it. As the Brahmin and the fox walked away from the cage, The forest around them seemed calmer than before. The rustling leaves, the distant calls of birds, and the soft crunch of dry twigs under their feet filled the silence between them. The Brahmin's heart was still racing, but he felt a deep sense of relief. He had come so close to losing his life, and yet, at the last moment, the clever fox had saved him. After a while, the Brahmin turned to the fox and said, "I do not know how to thank you. You saved my life. If you had not come at the right time, the tiger would have surely eaten me." The fox chuckled lightly. "You were lucky," it said. "But tell me, Brahmin, why did you trust the tiger in the first place? Did you really believe that a wild beast, trapped and desperate, would keep its promise once it was free?" The Brahmin sighed. He knew the fox was right. "I only wanted to help," he said. "I saw the tiger suffering in that cage. He begged me with such sad eyes. I thought perhaps, if I showed him kindness, he would be grateful." The fox stopped walking and turned to face the Brahmin. Its sharp eyes studied him carefully. "Kindness is a noble thing," the fox said, "but kindness without wisdom is dangerous. Tell me, Brahmin, would you pour water into a broken pot?" The Brahmin frowned. "Of course not," he said. "The water would just flow out." The fox nodded. "And would you plant seeds in dry, cracked earth without first making sure the soil is fertile?" The Brahmin shook his head. "No, the seeds would not grow." "Exactly," the fox said. "Then why would you give kindness to someone who does not value it?" The tiger was desperate to be free, not grateful. He would have said anything to trick you into opening that cage. You must understand, Brahmin, that not every creature can be trusted. Some will take your kindness and use it against you. The Brahmin listened carefully. He had always believed that goodness and mercy would be rewarded. But today, he had learned a painful truth. Sometimes, goodness alone was not enough. It had to be given to the right people at the right time in the right way. They continued walking, and the Brahmin thought deeply about the fox's words. Finally, he asked, "But how can I know who is truly deserving of kindness? How can I tell who will be grateful and who will betray me?" The fox smiled. "The world will teach you," it said. "Watch how people act, not just what they say. Those who truly appreciate kindness will never demand it. They will never trick or pressure you into giving it. But those who only care about themselves will use sweet words to get what they want. They will make promises, but they will not keep them." The Brahmin sighed. "I suppose I have much to learn." The fox nodded. "Yes, but do not let this experience turn your heart to stone. Do not stop being kind. Just be wiser in choosing who deserves your kindness. The world is full of both tigers and foxes. Some will take from you, while others will guide you. Learn to see the difference." The Brahmin remained silent for a moment, letting the fox's words settle in his heart. He realized that while he had made a mistake, he had also gained something valuable, a lesson that would protect him in the future. As they walked deeper into the forest, the Brahmin felt a new sense of awareness. He looked at the trees, the sky, and the path ahead of him. He had nearly lost his life today, but he had also gained wisdom, and that, he thought, was a fair trade. As the Brahmin and the fox continued their journey through the forest, the Brahmin's mind was filled with thoughts. The fox's words had opened his eyes, but they had also left him with many questions. He had always believed that kindness was the highest virtue, the most important quality a person could have. But today, he had learned that kindness alone was not enough. It had to be given with wisdom. Otherwise, it could lead to harm. After walking in silence for some time, the Brahmin finally spoke. "Fox, you have taught me something very important today, but I still wonder, how does one gain wisdom? How do I learn to tell who is honest and who is deceitful? Is it something that comes with age, or is it something I must be born with?" The fox smiled at the Brahmin's question. "Wisdom is not something you are simply given," it said. "It is something you must earn. It is not about age or intelligence. It comes from experience, from observing the world, from making mistakes and learning from them." The Brahmin nodded slowly. "But if wisdom comes from experience," he said, "then doesn't that mean I must first suffer before I can be wise?" The fox chuckled. "Not necessarily," it replied. "You can learn from your own experiences, but you can also learn from the experiences of others. Think about the story we just lived through. The tiger made a promise to you, and you believed him. But what if, before opening the cage, you had asked others about his nature? What if you had looked at his sharp claws and powerful teeth and thought carefully about whether such a creature would keep its word?" The Brahmin sighed. "I see your point," he admitted. "I acted too quickly. I only saw a creature in pain, and I wanted to help." "That is natural," the fox said. "But next time, remember to pause. Take a moment to think before you act. Kindness is good, but when given without thought, it can be dangerous." The Brahmin considered this as they walked. Then he asked another question. "But Fox, you helped me without asking for anything in return. You used your cleverness to save me from the tiger's trick. Why did you do that? How did you know I was worth saving?" The fox looked up at the trees as if thinking carefully before answering. "That is a good question," it said. "The truth is, I did not know for sure, but I have watched men like you before. Some are selfish, but others are good at heart. You were willing to risk your life to help another creature. That tells me that your heart is kind. But I also saw that you were naive, that you did not think before you acted. That is why I decided to step in. A good heart with wisdom can do much good in the world. I wanted to make sure you learned this lesson before it was too late." The Brahmin felt a deep sense of gratitude toward the fox. He realized that this small, clever creature had not only saved his life, but had also given him something even more valuable: a new way of seeing the world. They reached a small clearing in the forest, where the sunlight shone warmly through the leaves. The Brahmin sat down on a large rock, feeling the weight of the day's events settle in his heart. "I will remember this lesson," he said finally. "I will try to be both kind and wise. I will not let myself be fooled again." The fox nodded. "That is all I hoped for," it said. "If you can do that, then today was not a waste." The Brahmin looked around at the peaceful forest. For the first time in his life, he understood that the world was not as simple as he had once thought. There was kindness, but there was also deceit. There was goodness, but there was also danger. And between them stood wisdom, the key to understanding when to trust and when to be cautious. He knew he still had much to learn, but at least now he was on the right path. The Brahmin sat in the clearing for a long time, thinking about everything the fox had told him. He had spent his whole life believing that goodness and kindness alone were enough to make the world right. But now, he understood that the world was far more complicated. Being kind was important, but so was being wise. Being helpful was good, but it was also necessary to be careful. After some time, the fox stood up and stretched. "It is time for me to go," it said. "I have done what I needed to do." The Brahmin looked at the fox with gratitude. "You saved my life today," he said. "And more than that, you have opened my eyes. I was blind before, but now I see the truth. I wish there were a way for me to repay you." The fox shook its head. "I did not help you because I wanted payment," it said. "I helped you because I saw that you needed to learn. And now that you have, my work is done." The Brahmin felt a deep respect for the fox. "Before you leave," he said, "will you allow me to ask you one last question?" The fox nodded. "Go ahead." The Brahmin thought carefully before speaking. "You are a small creature, yet you outwitted a powerful tiger. You do not have sharp claws or strong teeth, yet you won against a beast that could have killed you in an instant. How is it that intelligence is stronger than strength?" The fox smiled. "The tiger relied on his power, his size, and his speed. He believed that these things made him the ruler of the forest. But strength alone does not make one a ruler. What happens when the strong fall into a trap? What happens when power is not enough to escape danger?" The tiger was foolish because he believed that might was everything. He did not think beyond his own strength. "That is why I was able to defeat him." The Brahmin listened carefully. "Then does that mean that intelligence is the greatest power of all?" The fox tilted its head. "Intelligence is important, but it must be used wisely. A person who is clever but dishonest is dangerous. A person who is smart but selfish will use their intelligence for harm. That is why wisdom is greater than both strength and intelligence. Strength can be lost. Intelligence can be misused. But true wisdom brings balance." The Brahmin nodded slowly. "I see now. The tiger had strength but no wisdom. I had kindness but no wisdom. And you had wisdom, which is why you were able to help me." The fox gave a small nod. "That is correct." The Brahmin thought about all the people he had met in his life. Some had been strong, some had been intelligent, but few had been truly wise. He realized now that wisdom was rare, and that those who had it were the ones who truly understood the world. He looked at the fox once more. "I do not want to be foolish again," he said. "How can I learn to be wise?" The fox's eyes gleamed with understanding. Wisdom is not something that can be given to you in a single day. It is something you must seek every day of your life. It comes from asking questions, from observing the world, from learning from mistakes, both your own and those of others. It comes from patience, thoughtfulness, and an open mind. The Brahmin took a deep breath. He knew that wisdom was not something he could gain instantly. It would take time, effort, and experience. But he was ready to begin the journey. The fox took a few steps back into the forest. "I must go now," it said. "But remember what you have learned today. Do not let fear stop you from helping others, but do not let kindness make you blind. Think before you act. Question before you trust. And always seek wisdom." The Brahmin watched as the fox disappeared into the trees. He sat for a moment in silence, letting the words sink in. He knew that his life had changed forever. He was no longer just a simple Brahmin. He was now a seeker of wisdom, a student of the world. He would no longer act without thinking. He would no longer trust without reason. He stood up, feeling lighter than before. His journey was far from over, but for the first time, he felt ready to walk the path ahead. The Brahmin began his walk back to the village, his mind filled with thoughts. Everything that had happened, the tiger's trickery, the fox's cleverness, and his own foolishness, played over and over again in his head. He had spent his whole life believing that kindness was enough, that helping others without question was always the right thing to do. But today, he had learned a difficult truth. Kindness without wisdom could be dangerous. A good heart was important, but it needed to be guided by clear thinking and careful judgment. As he walked, he thought about the tiger. At first, the tiger had seemed helpless, trapped inside the cage, pleading for mercy. The Brahmin had seen only a poor creature in need of help. But as soon as the tiger was free, his true nature was revealed. He had no gratitude, no sense of fairness, only hunger and selfishness. The Brahmin realized now that the world was full of such people, those who seemed helpless and kind but were, in reality, waiting for an opportunity to take advantage of others. Then he thought about the fox. The fox had not been the strongest animal in the forest, nor the biggest, but it had been the wisest. It had understood the situation at once and had used intelligence to outsmart the tiger. The fox had not rushed to act. It had not made decisions based on emotions alone. Instead, it had taken the time to think, to observe, and to ask the right questions. And by doing so, it had saved the Brahmin's life. The Brahmin wondered how different his life would be if he had been like the fox from the beginning. What if he had thought more carefully before opening the cage? What if he had asked the right questions before trusting the tiger? He realized now that wisdom was not just about knowing facts or having intelligence. It was about seeing the world clearly, understanding human nature, and knowing when to act and when to be cautious. The path back to the village was long, but the Brahmin did not feel tired. His mind was too full of thoughts. He thought about his past, about all the times he had trusted too easily, about the times he had been fooled by sweet words and false promises. How many times had he given food to those who were not truly in need? How many times had he believed lies because he did not want to think badly of others? He had always assumed that everyone in the world was good, that if he did the right thing, others would do the same. But today he had learned that not all creatures, not all people, shared his sense of fairness. As he neared the village, he saw the temple in the distance. It was a familiar sight, a place where he had spent many years in prayer and meditation. But now he looked at it with new eyes. He had always thought that wisdom could be found only in scriptures, that knowledge came only from books and teachings. But today, he had learned something far more valuable from a small fox in the forest. Wisdom did not come from words alone. It came from experience, from thinking deeply about the world, and from learning from mistakes. He entered the village, walking past the houses and the busy marketplace. People greeted him with respect, as they always had. To them, he was still the wise Brahmin, the man who knew the sacred texts, the man who always helped those in need. But inside, he felt like a different person. He had changed. He was no longer just a kind-hearted priest. He was now someone who understood the importance of wisdom. He saw a group of children playing near a well, laughing and running in circles. He thought about how innocent they were, how they had not yet learned the lessons of the world. He wished he could protect them from the kind of mistake he had made. He wished he could teach them what he had learned today, so that they would not suffer the same fate. But wisdom could not be simply given. It had to be discovered. As he reached his home, he sat down on the stone steps and closed his eyes for a moment. He remembered the fox's words. Wisdom was not something that could be gained in a single day. It was a lifelong journey. He had taken his first step today, but there was still a long road ahead. And so, he made a promise to himself. From this day forward, he would not only be kind, he would also be wise. He would not stop helping others, but he would do so with care, with thought, with understanding. He would not let his kindness blind him to the truth. He would not be fooled by false promises again. The world was full of both good and bad, of tigers and foxes, of the weak and the strong. But now, he knew that the most powerful thing of all was wisdom, and he was ready to seek it, no matter how long it took. The Brahmin sat outside his small house, watching the village go about its daily routine. Merchants were arranging their goods in the marketplace, farmers were leading their cattle to the fields, and children were running barefoot through the dusty roads. Everything seemed ordinary, just as it had been the day before. But for the Brahmin, everything had changed. The way he saw the world, the way he understood people, even the way he understood himself, it was all different now. He thought again about the tiger and the fox, about the mistake he had made and the lesson he had learned. The tiger had shown him that kindness alone was not enough, that some beings only cared about their own needs. The fox had shown him the power of intelligence, of patience, of thinking carefully before acting. It had also shown him something even more important, the value of questioning. The fox had asked the right questions at the right time. It had not accepted things as they seemed, but had instead challenged them, forcing the tiger to reveal its own foolishness. The Brahmin realized that, for most of his life, he had simply accepted things as they were. He had believed that all creatures, all people, had the same sense of fairness that he did. He had never questioned whether someone's suffering was real or if their words were true. He had only seen what was in front of him, without thinking about what lay beneath the surface. That was why he had been fooled. That was why the tiger had been able to trick him so easily. But now he understood. Kindness was good, but it had to be guided by wisdom. Trust was good, but it had to be earned. Helping others was good, but it had to be done with caution. He had always believed that being good meant never doubting anyone. But now he realized that true goodness also meant knowing when to step back, when to think carefully, when to protect oneself from harm. The wind carried the sounds of the village to him, the voices of sellers calling out their prices, the laughter of children, the distant ringing of temple bells. Life was moving forward, as it always did. And so, the Brahmin decided he too would move forward. He would not let this experience make him bitter. He would not stop being kind or helpful. But he would be wiser now. He would teach others what he had learned so they would not fall into the same trap. He thought about the young students who came to him for guidance, about the boys who wished to become scholars, about the villagers who trusted him for advice. They all saw him as a man of knowledge. But now, he realized, knowledge was not enough. He had spent years reading sacred texts, learning ancient teachings, and memorizing wise sayings. But none of that had saved him from the tiger. In the end, it had been experience, the real lesson of life, that had opened his eyes. From that day on, the Brahmin changed the way he lived. When people came to him for help, he still helped them, but he also asked questions. When he saw someone in need, he still gave what he could, but he also observed carefully. He did not stop being good, but he became more careful, more thoughtful. And over time, he noticed something interesting. People began to respect him even more. They listened more carefully to his words. They sought his advice not just for prayers and rituals, but for real problems, for guidance in life. His wisdom grew not just from books, but from the lessons he had learned through experience. And slowly, he became not just a Brahmin, but a true teacher, a true guide. Years passed, and the Brahmin's story spread. Parents told their children about the tiger and the fox, about how kindness without wisdom could be dangerous. The story was passed from one generation to another, not just as a tale, but as a lesson. And the Brahmin, who had once been fooled so easily, became known as the wisest man in the village. One evening, as the sun set behind the trees, painting the sky with shades of orange and pink, the Brahmin sat outside his house once again. He watched as the villagers finished their work and returned to their homes. He listened to the sounds of the night, the rustling of leaves, the distant call of an owl, and he smiled to himself. He had once freed a tiger from a cage, and in doing so had nearly lost his life. But in the end, he had been freed as well, freed from ignorance, freed from blind trust, freed from the mistakes that had once controlled him. He had learned that the world was not always fair, that not everyone could be trusted, that not all cries for help were honest. But he had also learned that wisdom could protect him, that careful thinking could save him, and that true goodness was not just about helping others, but about understanding them. And so, he continued his life with this new knowledge, teaching others, guiding them, and ensuring that the lesson he had learned would never be forgotten. That's the end of the story. If you enjoyed the story, please like, share, and subscribe for more exciting tales. Check out our other videos and share your thoughts in the comments. Stay tuned for the next adventure. Thanks for watching.